Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is finally time for us to talk about Anthem. I've been waiting for this moment ever since I saw the gameplay trailer at E3 2017. I saw it and I was like, yes, I'm getting that game. But with the VIP demo having come and gone, I now have some reasonable expectations for the game. I know what to, as far as I know what to expect, and I'm going to share that with you guys, let you form your own opinions. We also have the public demo coming up this weekend, so as of right now, I'm going to go ahead and encourage that you guys go ahead and get involved with that. Anyway, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to mention is that yes, there were quite a few technical issues. Logging in Friday when it launched was a no-go, pretty much. The servers had issues, and honestly, for me, I was expecting there to be issues, not necessarily as much as there were. It was definitely the buggiest beta/demo that I've ever been a part of, but I mean, you kind of gotta expect it sometimes. It could have been handled a lot better, I feel like, ahead of time, but it's gonna happen. I feel like the people that have been solely focusing on that part of the VIP demo, y'all gotta tone it down. Like, yes, I get it. It's EA. They're easy to hate on because of everything they've done in the past, and this just adds fuel to the fire. But you gotta stop looking at that for a second. And I feel for you if you had taken time off work, or you had gotten out of school, you spent a long time catching up, things like that. But you gotta forgive and forget. Like, just forget the technical issues that you experienced during the demo. Right? It's the demo that we played was 6 weeks behind where the game is now. Like, you gotta understand that this was mostly so EA could see how their servers would handle it, and so BioWare could see what types of bugs and glitches they may have overlooked, right? And I obviously did a really good job of showing that stuff. But anyway, now that I have mentioned that, I want to get into the rest of the stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about with y'all is the world and the story of Anthem. Right? So obviously there haven't been a lot of details revealed as far as what the story is going to be. We have a very baseline. There's this thing called the Anthem of Creation. The Dominion, who are essentially the bad guys, bad human group, they want it so that they can basically make the world however they want it. And then there's your group, who doesn't want them to do that because then there's no freedom in the world, type of thing. And then there's also an alien race called the Scars that kind of messing around with stuff too. But yeah, so that's as far as the main story goes, that's pretty much all we have so far. Now, outside of that, there is also a lot of I guess hidden stories would be what you call it. Like, there's lots of little thick side quests and things that create smaller stories within the world. For instance, when you're in the fort, there's several people you can go up and just kind of talk to about things. One of my favorite ones from the demo is he was a bartender, right? And so you go up and you're first talking to him, and he's like, he's like talking like he's real tough and stuff, and you're like, what? And then he's like, oh, you don't recognize me? I was in this TV show about freelancers and stuff, which you are. And you're like, no, I've never heard of that. Anyway, so he's talking to you about how he's an actor, and then he was like, hey, but look, listen, I was wondering if you could help me with something. You're like, oh, cool. What is this? And it doesn't turn out to be like he's sending you on a mission or anything. but it does paint kind of a cool picture of the world around you. As far as he asks for your advice. He's like, hey, I got this girl. She's a regular in here. She comes in, and I kind of think she's into me. And you're like, oh, well, why do you think that? He's like, well, the last time she was in here, she came in and she told me, hey, I'm really into you. And you're like, oh, all right, cool. So sounds like you're in. I don't really see what the problem is here. And he's like, oh, well, she's married. And you're like, oh. And he's like, yeah, she's married to a sentinel. And he's really quick to anger. And you're like, oh, yeah, so I can see how that could be a problem. So then he's like, so what should I do? Should I just run with it? Or like, so then it gives you like the dialogue options, and then you leave for a little bit, you come back, and then you're talking to him again, and you're like, so how'd it go with the lady? And he's like, oh, we're cool now. I've told her, hey, look, I think we should just be friends. She's like, okay, yeah, I really respect that decision and stuff. And then he keeps asking you for advice. But so my point is that it's creating story, or like it's painting a broader picture of the world that you're in. So like it's not just I'm in this world and I need to stop the bad guys. It's I'm in this world and there's people in this world that I can interact with and have conversations with. And that I'm like people whose lives I'm actually affecting, right? And then you move on into like the actual story and stuff, right? But back to what just the world in general is a very beautiful place. Like the environment that you traverse in the game, in your Javelin, is just, it's absolutely breathtaking. Like, the waterfalls, and like the open plains, and just how the mountain, like, just everything about it is beautiful. Right? And for a game like this, where technology is at and everything, like, if it had been anything less, then I would have been really disappointed. If they had pulled I'm gonna call it a Ubisoft, where they show off just this absolutely breathtaking world in their E3 demo, and then by the time it comes out, it's like really dumbed down, and it's still pretty to look at, but compared to what it was at the E3 demo, it's just not the same. Whereas with this, if you took the E3 2017 demo and showed it to me now, or did a side-by-side comparison, yeah, I'm sure, absolutely, you would probably lose some of that beauty and just like clearness, just because it's an E3 demo. But the what you lose would be very minimal, because it's still just a beautiful game to look at. And it's also a game that the world feels very alive as well. You have you have animals running around, you have sentinels out and about, like wandering around, and sometimes you have to fly in and help them out with enemies. Like there's a lot going on in the game aside from just I'm gonna go out. There's literally nothing out here except, oh, here's a group of enemies that I gotta kill. Oh, I killed them. Cool. There's literally nothing else alive out here except me for however far in any direction, right? It's like, okay, cool. I killed this group of enemies. Then you turn around. All of a sudden, there's like 3 massive crab spider things that are coming at you shooting acid, and you're like, oh, do I stay and fight them, or do I just leave them alone because I'm in their territory? Like, it's so cool just to be able to, like, I love open world games that have animals in them, because it really does take it to a whole nother level of feeling alive. But yeah, that's my impressions of the world. It's really good. And next, the movement system in the game is amazing. if you've watched any other reviews, I'm sure they've said the exact same thing. The being able to fly, like watching it, you're like, hey, that looks really cool. But then you actually start doing it, and you're like, I don't think I ever want to touch the ground again. Like I guarantee you, if I went to play any other, even, I'm just gonna say looter shooter in general, and I can't fly in it, it's just not, it's gonna feel lacking, right? Like, okay, so I play Destiny a lot, and up until now, that was probably the only, I mean, you got Division 2, but look, what I'm trying to say is the movement is really solid. That's, I don't want to start rambling, but the movement is really solid. Just the ability to go from sprinting on the ground to jumping and then flying through the air and then diving into like a lake to alternate to swimming, and then you're flying and there's like a waterfall, but there's like a hole that you can swim through the waterfall and fly out and then back down. It's just really good. My issue as far as movement goes is that when you are on the ground, I feel like there was so much attention paid to how it's going to feel when you're in the air that you lose some of that when you're on the ground. Not that you're on the ground a lot, depending on the javelin you're playing it. So, for instance, if you're in the Colossus, you're gonna be on the ground a lot, and you're gonna be, one of the play styles is to attract everybody's attention so that your teammates can fly around behind them and just lay into them from behind. There are certain situations, however, where it feels like I'll be backing up into something, and it like takes you up the hill, but then it drops you down again. And when you drop off of a hill, you face plant. So all of a sudden you're taking all this damage, and then you've out of nowhere you just face planted into the ground from walking. And now you have nothing protecting you. You have all these enemies on you, and boom, you're dead. Or you're taking all this fire from enemies and you're sprinting through with your shield, just eating all this damage. And then you run into, there's a small rock that's sticking up out of the ground that you run into, and you're just dead in your tracks. So there's things I feel like could definitely be tuned as far as that goes, but it doesn't happen a lot. It's just that when it does, you're like, well, shoot, you know. But no, overall, again, I would say movement is really good and it's really fun. After movement, abilities. The abilities in the game are ridiculously cool. You've got like the ranger. Obviously, is the one you're going to start out with. I feel like myself, as well as a lot of other people, kind of wish you could just pick which one you start out with, because for me, the ranger is kind of the most lackluster. I'll say it's almost the most lackluster, and that's just because I personally don't like the interceptor, which is the fast one. That's my least favorite one. But the ranger, like, he has good abilities, being able to throw a grenade, and then you have the missile barrage. You lock on several things at once and shoot missiles at them. Like, that's cool. The first time you do it, you're like, yeah, this is cool. The second time you do it, you're like, okay, cool. I just locked onto a bunch of people and unloaded rockets into them. The third time you do it, you're like, okay. However, for me, when I was playing on the Colossus, which I played on the most, you have the giant rocket nuke launcher thing that you just carry around on your back. You pull that out, and you just start lighting. Like, you shoot 3 times, and everything within like a 20-meter radius of where you just shot is dead. And it's just hearing that ka-dunk, like, I feel like pretty much every ability on the Colossus is basically just a bass drop. Like, when The ability to get everything, there's an ability to get everything to focus on you, and it's literally him just going up and going, boom! And it just sounds like you're just dropping the bass on everything, and they all just get mad at you for it. The mortar that you can have on your back, you can also alternate that with like one of the things I can, it's like a lightning coil or something, but basically you can activate it, and then it just zaps everything for like 10 seconds in front of you. If there's something in front of you, it's dead, right? And so it's really cool when, it works really well if you're in solo play. You just pop up you just put your shield up, you just turn that on. You're eating some damage for a little bit, but you're also dealing out damage at the same time. And it just works really well. The Storm was the other one. That one has some pretty cool abilities as well. The little lightning strike where you just call in a little lightning attack. The ultimate on it where like you just summon an ice block that just drops down on top of an enemy and freezes all of them. And then you have a massive lightning strike that comes down on top of all of them. And then you have what's pretty much a meteor that just comes in and drops down on top of everybody. The abilities are really good. And the recharge rates that you have on them, they're like 10 seconds. So you're doing that a lot. Like you're almost using your abilities more than your guns, which, good little segue there. The gunplay, it's good. Overall, I'd say it's solid. Typically, I'm not a fan of third-person shooters. I just like first-person better. But there are definitely some guns that I feel like the recoil could be toned down a little bit on. Some of the LMGs, the ARs especially, I feel like could definitely, for the damage output comparing the damage output to how much the recoil is or how much the bullet spread is, I feel like they could definitely tone those down a little bit on the automatic weapons. Now, the semi-automatic weapons I think are really solid. The marksman rifle that's in the game is probably my preferred primary weapon. Then you have shotguns and stuff. One thing I was a little disappointed in were the sniper rifles. I just felt like, so it's very important to hit your crits in this game with precision weapons, naturally. Like it is in every game, but in some games, like you have the sniper rifle and you are bound to hit body shots eventually. You do like, it doesn't do as much damage for a body shot as I would hope it would. However, I have also only played level 10 to level 15 with rare weapons. So it's entirely possible that once you get to those higher levels, you have a sniper rifle that's hitting for significantly more, right? My only other problem with the gunplay would have been the reloading and weapon swapping, because it's the same button. But that's just something that you just need to get used to as far as like tapping and holding. The other thing would be the replayability. I feel there's going to be a lot of really solid options for it, because I spent a lot of time just replaying activities in this, and I wasn't getting bored of them. Like I'd finish it and be like, all right, let's go do it again so I can get better stuff. And I know I'm just kind of glancing over this, but I don't want this to be super long. But I feel like the replayability will be solid. Now the customization, which I'm going to get a little bit more into here, because I'm almost done, I promise, guys. But the customization here is crazy how in-depth it is, right? So you go in, you can choose what material your chest harness is, you can choose what material your gauntlets are made, like you can just choose the material of these things and it makes it look a certain way. Then you put a color, like you can choose the color and you can customize the color to make it look even more of a specific way. Then you also have the vinyls, which are basically like patterns that can go onto armor, and then you also have the, I'm gonna call them armor appearances, because it's basically like it's not doing anything for your stats, it's just making your armor piece look a certain way. So for instance, one of my Colossus builds that I made, he's got a huge dome over his face, and then the other one he just has the regular Colossus look, right? And this is kind of where I want to mention microtransactions, because it's bound to come up eventually. This is the customization stuff is going to be where the microtransactions are. But one thing I think that's really important to focus on for this is that it's not a loot box. So, like, let's say for instance, you've seen this guy with a he's got a vinyl, and it's a dragon, and it's a purple dragon that wraps around the armor, right? And you're like, oh, I absolutely want that. You can then choose to go back to Fort Tarsus and buy that specific vinyl. Or you can look up how to unlock it in-game, go do the activities for that specific vinyl. You don't have to pay for it. It's completely optional. And I know a lot of people are like, yeah, but it's EA, so they'll probably sneak something in there at some point. But I remember quite well at some point I think it was E3 2018 actually. BioWare came out, they had the devs come out and answer a bunch of questions, and they talked about it, and they're like, we are not putting loot boxes in. This is how we're going to do it. This is the way we want to do it, and this is how it's going to be done. That's almost them promising that it's going to stay that way and not change. So for them, I just feel like for them to put their necks out like that, because they're putting their necks out, people should feel a little bit more confident in it. And again, I know it's EA, so it's understandable. But to say that this game's going to be horrible just because EA is producing it, and because EA has had issues with microtransactions in the past, it's ignorant on it. Like, it's almost idiotic to just be saying that. But anyway, it is. I was hoping to keep this under 20 minutes. I don't think that was ever going to happen. I could be going on talking for like 40 minutes, which I'm not joking. This is like the 4th time I've tried to make this background commentary, and this is the first one that's under 30 minutes. So we're just going to try to wrap things up here now anyway, before I start rambling again. Closing thoughts. I am 100% behind this game at this moment. I am nervously optimistic because, yes, it is EA, and I'm not going to pretend like they haven't completely butt-fucked people in the past. And I would be lying if I said there wasn't part of me that was nervous that they'll do that again. But I also have confidence in BioWare. I have enough confidence in BioWare to be 100% behind this game. There is the open demo, the 1st through the 3rd or something like that, of February, just before the game comes out. If you're interested in it, but you're still super skeptical or anything like that, I would strongly encourage you to participate in that. But yeah, that's my closing thoughts on that. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hope it wasn't too boring for you. I know my voice was kind of fading out here near the end, but like I said, I've done this a couple times, talking for about 20 minutes. So anyway, if you guys did enjoy, go ahead, drop a like. If you want to keep seeing new content from us, go ahead and subscribe. I have been informed that there is a bell that you can hit for notifications, so that you can see when we drop a new video. We're starting to get into the realm of reviews a little bit more frequently. But the majority of it is going to be comedy videos, just us messing around in video games. Anyway. Also, if you guys didn't like it, dislike it, tell me why in the comments. Let's have a little conversation. But if you are going to do it, I get it. There's trolls out there. You do what you want. But constructive criticism is always preferred. But anyway, hope you all enjoy your rest of your day, night, weekend, week, month, whatever. And I'll see you in the next one.